This is Zettelcast, brought to you by readers, writers, thinkers, and teachers from LiLLipub, along with our partners in thought, our Zettelkastens. In this show, we share discoveries that our Zettelkastens have shown us.
There you go.
And compare notes on how we're using this marvelous invention in our creative work. Thank you for joining us.
All right, Brooke. Do it again.
All right.
Episode 5, Puzzle Boxes. Welcome back to Episode 5 of Zettelcast. This is, I think we can officially call it a weekly get-together. Friends from LiLLipub.org and our Zettelkasten plus ones. So I'm gonna whip out the PowerPoint. Kathleen, have you made it so that I can?
Yes.
We have a potential of 2 challenges. We always try to do that. But this one, it's quite possible that the first one is going to take up all the time. I think that would be marvelous. But if it doesn't, we've got a little bit of a fun filler too. So today's challenge is, this is the day. This is the day we start writing Roanoke together. And so we chose to use one of 2 flash fiction formats that just happened to be the writing assignment for Fusion Writing over at LiLLipub.org. And those formats that were our choices were the 6-word story or the 100-word story. And I'm pretty sure that today we're going to have 3 100-word stories. So now, you may be asking, what is Roanoke again? So in episode 1, we discussed potential activities for this podcast, rotating things. We're going to rotate the host. I'm Julianne Scherer, the host for today. And one of the options was inspectional reading of a Zettelkasten. What can you learn about the Zettelkasten from its index and structure? And then, because this is LiLLipub.org and Fusion Writing and all that, and how might we explore that as fiction? And so at the time, episode 1, I shared that I had an undeveloped story idea in my head about a colony whose residents have vanished and they left their Zettelkastens behind. And the working title of that is Roanoke. And now we're doing this. So I'm going to go in order of the submissions of the 100-word story. So it's the first one is Victoria's, because Victoria was right out the chute. And then I slunk in with my own, and Kathleen further slunked in with her own. All right. So this is Victoria's. Let me move this. Oh, Victoria, you want to read it?
Yes, because I did make a change. The piece that the audience doesn't know is we workshopped these during Fusion Writing on Saturday over at LiLLipub. And based on an observation that Kathleen made, I changed one little detail so that the context of how we had moved from where we began to where we ended up was more clear, because it wasn't, you could have been inside the house, you could have been outside. So I just made a little change so that that was more clear. So on the screen, you see the second draft. I will read you the final draft, which only changes a few words.
Okay.
A voice called from the kitchen doorway, "Out here!" Beyond the patio, peach and pink tea roses marked a garden gate which swung open with a groan. Stepping in, one would walk a brown pebble path dividing plots that overflowed with lush vegetables growing in a vibrant colored patchwork. 20 steps in, one couldn't avoid the small but meticulously carved marble table. The smooth groove in the bench seat beckoned one to sit and consider the unexpected object on the table. It was a box, ornately carved and fixed with a menacing brass lock, daring the observer to try it.
Awesome. All right. And now I will read mine. Jenna paused for a 360 from the center of the Rosetta. Seeing the actual stones set into the codes unleveled her. NA. The link took her down to the vault. There, gleaming coyly, the cabinet. NA. She drew her hand toward the beads on the drawer face. She stroked the sequence that would definitely work. Haptic. Alter protocol. Unrecognized. Her throat tugged a secret smile, and she replayed the grinning face. At the crook, she voiced it. What do you know? The drawer exhaled a chuckle, chuckled an exhale, and showed its contents. Longhand. You're a bastard, Grandpa. NA. And finally, here we have Kathleen's.
The box lay under a child's bed, and the cards the box contained were written in a child's hand. Little objects were also present in the box: a pretty stone, a piece of ribbon, a small coin. One object was a tiny embroidered doll, not 1 inch tall, totally flat like a paper doll, but crafted of threads of a dozen colors. The backside, which wasn't lovely to begin with, was further marred by a slab of glue with the remnants of some paper to which it was at one time attached. The nearest card said only, Polly Sue.
Fantastic. And we've got Deb now. Awesome. All right, I'm going to stop sharing. All right. Now, having shared some of my, brain dump story treatment with you all, we're in LiLLiPub. I totally see these things going together. I don't see it. I would have the question, what the heck? Reading them in sequence, but I think every one of them, we've got enough of a connecting thread that might keep a reader going. I don't know. Mel, what do you think?
Well, I did not see your brain dump until this morning, unfortunately. I don't always get notifications for new information on LiLLiPub, so I missed it yesterday. But yes, I can see how they all would fit together, potentially, that we can make the threads. So I'm really excited to see where this goes. Perhaps you could talk a little bit about, do you want to talk about the story treatment and sort of the overarching idea of where this is going to go?
Why not? I don't need for any of this to be secret. I mean, we're going to have spoilers if we're writing this together here, and that's part of the fun. So I'm just gonna I'll read the treatment if that's all right. Does that make sense? Is that too much?
Yeah, good.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
All right. We follow a team of researchers looking into the mysteries of a recently discovered early colony of settlers from generations past. The colony was separated from the rest of the inhabited world through a cataclysm known as the Severing. Humanity long ago gave up on ever finding them and moved on with their lives. It is revealed rather early in the story that the team of researchers are blood descendants of the lost settlers. The settlers had been assembled according to ideal genetic proportions of settler groups from human history. And now here's a note for y'all. Because when we talk about ideal genetic proportions, a lot of people will go, ugh, are you talking about eugenics? No. So this is about natural evolutionary diversity, including neurodiversity, which Lynne Kelly discusses in her book that is not available in the US yet, but it is available in Australia. And it's called The Knowledge Gene. And she explores topics like how and why have divergent traits like autism survived? And Kelly's research suggests that the successful groups of humans, like 100 people or more, that survived to be our ancestors needed autistic people and other neurodivergent people playing key minority roles. They were especially adept at some things that the groups needed. So I don't have the book yet. It's not available in the US yet, but there's a fascinating interview of Lynne Kelly talking about this book on Anthony Bativier's podcast, which seems to be my sole source for everything. So back to the story arc. So sometime after it became possible to gain entrance to the settlers' colony, which was found to be empty, but in curiously great shape, it was accidentally discovered, or was it, spoilers, that a blood descendant of one of the settlers had been the one who had figured out where the colony was. A few other clues about getting into it were discovered by other descendants. Many of these current discoverers had no idea of their ancestry. Jenna, the character introduced in my 100-word story, is a descendant of someone she calls Grandpa. That person is far older than that. Grandpa is from the lost colony. Somehow Jenna and Grandpa have a dialogue going. They are riffing with each other. It turns out that their blood tie is what my husband and I call clown blood. They share an irreverent sense of humor like you might find in one of Shakespeare's Jesters or the Marx Brothers. So how are Jenna and Grandpa communicating? Well, Jenna doesn't know, but she suspects the Grandpa knows because he seems several steps ahead of her. Our researchers have advanced technology hinted at in the italicized words and those that I read out in whispered voice, like NA or I. There are mentions, as in the second paragraph, the link took her down to the vault. So the researchers have a greatly advanced form of a neuronal human link technology, such as Elon Musk's Neuralink, which by their time would be viewed as archaic. Long before Jenna's time, two things happened. The links enabled the humans equipped with these mods to communicate directly with each other without writing or speaking or needing to be near each other. The ability to manufacture a custom-made link integrated into a human body was encoded into human DNA. The linked have been communicating through this medium for so long they take it utterly for granted and do not feel the need to understand it. Linked society have embedded social norms into the links because, after all, the link is a receiver and a transmitter. A base operating norm is that linked understanding is perfect understanding. Any other understanding is imperfect. When Jenna receives an NA, it is a corrective. The linked do not read or write language. It hasn't been necessary for ages. Their links tell them what they need to know, navigate for them, entertain them. They do, however, learn as children to speak. This trains them and their links to operate together, to hold inner dialogue, and establish distinct, recognizable characteristics when they communicate with others. There are occasional established events in adolescence and adulthood where linked people are expected to speak. Most people in Jenna's generation roll their eyes at these events as an anachronistic waste of time. Jenna's people do not refer to themselves as the linked. They will learn from their ancestor Zettelkastens that they use that name to refer to the people they came from, but not themselves. The ancestors' early generation links were only designed to work with a single human for that human's lifetime. We meet Jenna in her first in-person visit to a large hall called Farewell. That name did not survive my 100-word cut. Place is called Farewell. And they call the place Farewell because the name is carved over the door. They know this now because of the Rosetta floor. They learned the ancestors' written language from the Rosetta floor. Prior to this scene, Jenna has solved the mystery of the curious arrangement of stones in that floor. It's a series of QR codes-ish that transmit a lot of information. Grandpa's idea of a joke was to begin the message with, "To whom it may concern." Using a hall named Farewell to say hello is another joke. The early generation links that existed in the ancestors' day could read these codes, but that was several bygone eras ago. Jenna is pretty chuffed to have solved this puzzle using a simulator of the ancient link. Her success earned her a try at cracking the contents of the vault. Farewell is also a Lukasa. This is another nod to Lynne Kelly, this time of her book, The Memory Code and Memory Craft. In the Farewell Lukasa, the walls and the support columns are studded with objects that are placed deliberately, and they're polished by the oil of countless palms. At first, nobody knows that it is a Lukasa, what a Lukasa even is, or what memories are encoded in it. Odd reverberations happen in this place, depending on the path that you take through it. Another mystery. The first time Jenna touches through the sequence of beads to open the first drawer in the cabinet, she fails and receives a haptic response in the older protocol of the ancestors' links. She also experiences a secret smile in her throat, with no NA. She and Grandpa have negotiated a private channel the link isn't onto. That tug at her throat tells her why she failed. She hadn't spoken the words the first time. So where is this going? Here's the big shift in scale for a whole arc that is starting to emerge. Now, should I stop there and we'll discuss from that point, and then maybe we'll go into everything else?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, because that for now we are up to the present of your story.
Yes.
And our stories.
Yeah.
Because it's the first exploration of the physical space that the separated occupied.
Yes.
And then the rest of your background is where you envision the story going.
Exactly. And it's like even the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, and I think some of the hints that I have told here are the sort of hints that you might see on the back of the book. You know, they're not, they haven't spoiled anything.
Yeah.
So this really was a mind dump yesterday. All sorts of, well, it was over the weekend. It was like, okay, we're going to do this. I better write mine. Anyway, this whole story is apparently my concoction, and I literally didn't even know what I was doing. And it all just poured out. And I have to say, we talked in episode 3 about, you know, our relationships with our Zettelkastens and stuff. And I talked about the skein at the top of my head. Everything is in this. I created a list of all of the books that I have in mind referencing for this, and it covers every single 1 through 5 of the categories. Unintentionally, awesome. It's just, they're all there. So now that's what happened to me. Does it translate? Where are the holes? Where are some things in this whole like world building foray that you go, wait a minute?
Well, it's fascinating. I'm really glad that I wrote my piece before I read your world building, because otherwise I would have felt that I needed to be directly in that world. But I'm glad I did not read that first, because the world that I created is what they have to discover and interpret.
Yes.
And by definition, it needs to be different from their world. And so it does present a very, very different picture of this highly techno world of whatever their Zettelkasten is like is the vault. I mean, it's this giant thing. And then you contrast it with a little shoebox thing of a little child in mine. So obviously, there's got to be something that's very key to something in the future that's contained in that little box.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what about the secret box?
Let me interrupt you, because when I was thinking about the possibilities, Kathleen, when I read your piece, I found myself thinking, what if the child Polly's box is something that an adult brought with them and saved? The child was never actually there.
Oh.
Mm.
It's a keepsake, not necessarily an artifact. Just put that in your back pocket.
Uh-huh. Huh.
I don't
Yes.
know.
Another thing it could be is that as the researchers are working through all of this, there's a kid. And she's hearing the conversations and she's imitating.
Oh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I was kind of picturing with it that because it's a kid box, and this is a very sophisticated society, it's going to be like, well, at least there's one we don't need to try to figure out.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. But later, there's a twist.
Archive it. Archive it. I mean, it came with the community, but so archive it, but a piece of ribbon.
That's right.
Oh,
That's right.
where was that piece of ribbon?
Yeah, yeah.
that wad of glue was the whole world.
Or wait until they find in Victoria's a paper with a torn segment of some key words, and they're missing because that piece of something, an object has been torn from the page and you can't read the most important words.
I would never do that.
Okay. What would you do, Victoria? Yours is crazy.
No, I was just thinking I'd rip the whole chapter out of the book. There'd be no page torn.
We know this to be true.
Yeah. Well, I think like the overall thread, it works because already thematically, we're dealing with the analog versus digital question.
Yes.
With, the intuitive versus the technological. I mean, we're already grappling with some thematic elements that totally work.
So
I'm just
speaking
looking
of
at my
thematic elements, since I didn't get a chance to write a little story for the first challenge, I figured I would just go ahead and pull a card out of my Zettelkasten at random to see if it would spark something that would go with this, and boy, did it. This is an really old card.
Wait, hold on, I got chills.
This is before I even had a Zettelkasten when I wrote this card, but it was from a book called Hydriotaphia, or Tophia, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, Urn Burial, which was published in, where did I write that? 1658.
Oh.
And it was all about burial customs.
Burial.
But yeah, and the quote that I had written down from it was, "But the iniquity of oblivion blindly scattereth her poppy, and deals with the memory of men without distinction to merit of perpetuity." So, I mean, it's about, what's important to us now is not what's gets saved. It's not what shows up in future generations. And we have no control over what future generations are going to discover or remember about us. So I think that that is a really great trigger. And I look forward to writing
I
something
think-
in this world.
Wait, we have our opening quote.
Yeah.
We certainly do.
I mean, that's a great frame.
Yeah.
And it's future past again. I mean, this, I think this is going to keep recurring.
Yeah. Wow. And oh my gosh. And then that makes you wonder from that quote and the date of the quote, it's going to make you wonder, is this an ancient lost society? Because
Well, the whole thing, it will unfold as a puzzle for the reader, which is the best kind.
but can you stand the pantsing, Victoria?
I've already got mine planned out. I'm good.
So from that perspective, right? In the fusion writing thing, I shared with you my little cheat sheet that I got from
Yeah.
Mary Robinette, which
There you
was
go.
and I started with that. I literally started with that just to get myself going. And I really like structure. And in music, I really like form. I get very intrigued by form. But I also find myself saying, yeah, okay. And then I just go.
Right. Yeah. And I think everyone has shades of that to different degrees. It depends on the project. It depends on the goal. There's some parameters that kind of make that determination. And I think everyone has different shades of it. It just shows up and recedes, depending on what you're doing.
Like Julianne was talking about earlier with the different, subtypes and neurotypical and neuroatypical, any group needs a few pantsers to add a little chaos and creativity to the process.
That's right.
So in terms of collaborative writing with our plus ones, as full partners, not just with our individual selves, but together. How we do that?
Yeah. You proposed it. You must have some idea.
I know.
But then Mel demonstrated it.
Right.
You open a drawer, or you open your box and you just
Pull something out. Yeah. I mean, I think
Do you
that's
want to
the
have
most
each
honest way to
other's-
do it.
Do we want to have some of each other's cards in our boxes?
Ooh.
Have conversations?
Oh, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
I mean, if I were to send you some cards and you just tell me where you filed them.
Yeah, that would be great. That's a great way to do it. You show us one of your cards and then we'll pull our indexes and decide which card. Now, if we're going to commit to adding that card to our Zettelkasten, where would it go? What's its parent card?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Because that gives you, it gives you the structure. You know where you're going to go to install it. You'll know where it lives, but you have no control over what's next to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
And, so if Kathleen, you were to share a card with me,
Uh-huh.
I'd have the choice. Do I want to recopy that card in my own hand, take your card and recopy a child card of it? Do I want to put my own tagline on your card? How are we going to do that? I'm not sure yet, but I feel like at this moment, I'm going to enjoy encountering your handwriting in my box.
Yeah. I'm going to print it out on sturdy paper, or maybe even use some double stick tape and stick it to a file card so it feels like a file card. And have it as is in my box. Yeah.
It wouldn't be us without paper crafts.
Right. And then we have to get then we have to get from each of us the parent card that goes with it. And then,
Right.
but those we get to file wherever they go
Right.
because they may not be, I mean, we've got to integrate them into our systems. That would be rather interesting we almost have to do an inverted directory and say, okay, these are all the cards that this card chose as parents from other people's.
Yeah. Because if we want to
Yeah.
be talking about the same card, it's like, well,
Yeah.
what's the thing?
Yeah, they got to stay close.
Or something. There needs to
directory
be a
card.
map or something.
Talk about links. They will link to somebody else's Zettelkasten.
That is
We need a
awesome.
new color pen.
Yeah. Oh dear. Oh my. I get to go shopping for another color pen. I don't need to go shopping for another color pen. A certain friend of mine set me up.
There, now we're talking. Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, so do we just do it? Whose card?
Literally, I have not written any cards yet, but I feel like what I would maybe. Well, so this whole story thing, I looked at Victoria's plot structure template from Fusion Writing, and I went, yeah, no.
Yeah, no, it
I'll
doesn't
map it
apply
later.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't apply.
But maybe one of these things that I'm referencing in my 100-word story, I could flesh out as a card so that you know, like what that's from.
Okay, that works. And then
That'll
you
work.
could post that on LiLLiPub
Yeah.
sometime this coming week. And then whoever I volunteered to lead next week, and then a week that can be our lead activity will be, okay, we'll all have the card in advance, so we'll be able to say where would we file it, and we can all post those parent cards so we can share those next week.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
guys. You guys are off on a roll. Pew! You know, which is fascinating. My drabble that I
Yeah.
just submitted about 5 seconds ago, or actually since I was about 10 minutes late, I submitted it about 9 minutes ago.
Okay.
And it comes out of the book, that same builder book that we've been talking about forever.
Yeah.
Yes, you're gonna get it, Kathleen. That's the one. That's the one.
Timeless way of building.
Right, the timeless way of building that came out of a suggestion from Julianne
Yeah.
for Kathleen in terms of structure, how to make a book more readable. I jumped out and bought the book right away because of that description, and I went through it. And then today, Kathleen, you posted a short post on the delight that you were having as a result of reading the book for 1 hour, and noticing the similarity between what the book was saying about architecture and the ZK. So I'm saying, oh, it's the same. Oh, okay. Well, how do I express that sameness? What do I do? And so that's what I ended up with, thinking about what I read, thinking about what you wrote, thinking about the book, and a little bit of AI. Sorry, a little bit of AI.
No, that's totally fitting.
Oh, cool. Yeah, fitting, very fitting.
Okay, and and that's what I came up with. Can anybody pull that up? Can you pull that up?
I will.
I looked under Roanoke and I don't see it there.
And maybe it's under Fusion Writing.
No, I put
Okay.
it. I thought I put it under greeters.
Oh, greeters. Okay.
which is where Roanoke is.
Wait,
Yeah.
it's builds as mirrors, right?
What? Yes,
Okay, then
have
why don't
it.
you share it?
you got it? Somebody got it?
Uh-huh. I got it.
Okay, can you
Okay,
read it?
share it then, please.
Hold on.
There's a little
Working on it.
prologue and then there's a ditty.
Yeah. Where's my share?
It's about the middle of the
This.
bottom. There you
Tell
go.
me if you can see this.
Yes.
Yep.
Wait,
Yeah.
can I make
Yes.
it bigger? Okay, there.
Okay, great. There it is.
There it is. But
You want to read it to us, please, Deb?
Okay. The following drabble, and I keep wanting to call that something else, drabble. But anyway, drabble is it's a collaboration between me, Deb Hart, my thoughts about a very recent Kathleen Spracklen post about Christopher Alexander's book, my reading of that book, and yes, a sprinkle of an interactive AI. Thanks to Julianne Scherer for starting all of this by suggesting the book to Kathleen. So, and here it goes. I'm seeing the conceptual sameness expressed in the architectural base of Alexander's book and the inherency of the ZK build as a two-way mirror, showing the same truth in both the tangible world and the realm of ideas. On the one hand, we see its manifestation in physical reality, concrete and observable. On the other hand, we perceive its philosophical counterpart, abstract yet equally real. This mirror reveals two aspects of the same underlying principle, each reflection validating and illuminating the other. As we change our perspective in the physical world, we see corresponding shifts in the philosophical reflection and vice versa. So that's
fantastic.
That's what came out of that, you know. So, what do you guys think?
I think it definitely, that could be the key to understanding the Zettelkastens, that the Zettelkasten is going to be the mirror to the physical reality. And you're going to have to go to something in the physical world, in the architecture of the buildings in the physical world. And we might find that the space where they are, what did they call the space where they're located? Where the separated are? Huh?
Oh, where they're separated?
Where do the separated live? What is their world
We
called?
haven't given, we're just calling the Farewell is the name of this building. We don't actually know.
I'm
or-
thinking about, well,
yes.
the word enclave, the enclave is coming to my mind. So I'm
Okay.
just going to play with that as a stand-in for the moment. So when
Colony.
people look around, they're going to find that the enclave was constructed according to Christopher Alexander's model of building. And this book, the Zettelkasten, somebody will have Zettelkasten book, this book, and it will be in their bib box. And several important clues will be in the main box. And we'll discover that between the Zettelkasten and the physical world that was constructed out of the book, we're going to have to find a reflection. And when we find two things that perfectly reflect one another, that's going to be the location of a key.
I love it.
Now we've got plot.
Yeah.
Mm.
Of course, now
That's
I'm
awesome.
thinking, okay, so this is a binary, but what happens if it's really a ternary? What if there's a third level that has to be discovered?
Oh, there are many.
It's not just abstract and concrete reflecting each other. Perhaps there is another level, which this actually ties in with this next month's newsletter, so it's on my mind. But
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Victoria, can you stop sharing? So since we're not ready, thank you. Okay,
Are you back? Okay.
continue. I'm sorry, Mel,
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah.
yeah, well, because the abstract versus the concrete, that's sort of the Platonic view of, like the ideals and then, the physical representations of those ideals. There's another version that splits it into three, where typal is, the stuff that we see around us, and ectypal is the sort of the bigger concept. But then there's a third level beyond that, which is like the dynamic processes or patterns that form those ideals in the first place, or is a higher abstraction depending on the direction you want to go.
Oh my gosh, that totally anticipates object-oriented programming.
Oh yes, absolutely. I was definitely I used to be a programmer, so yes, I definitely noticed that
You don't
connection
have just the
myself.
object, you have the behavior as well.
Mhm,
Oh,
mhm.
oh, holy smokes.
So there you go. You just got a preview for this month.
Spoiler alert. Oh,
Well, the cool thing is anyone just watching this conversation is getting a real-time look at what happens in a writer's brain during the process of creating a piece of work. This is exactly what happens. We're just each playing a different part, whereas with one writer, it would be in their head. But this is exactly what the process looks like.
wow.
And then when you add your box, that becomes the partner, and that's where the other piece of the communication happens. But this is exactly what it looks like, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. So we're going to have to each add something then next week to our story, be it 6 words or 100 words or anything in between. Keep it to a max of 100 so that we can all share and see where our story goes. Maybe you're going to do connective tissue. Maybe you're going to throw it in another weird direction. Maybe you're going to Mel or Deb introduce another box. We've seen 3 so far. I guess the vault counts as one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, of course, Julianne has the big one. So we got to find some more boxes. And, and yeah. Very interesting.
So yeah, I am viewing the Zettelkastens of the colony.
Mhm.
They learned how to collaborate with them, and we are learning from them how to do the same.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I feel the need to make some bib notes and some name cards. This, by the way, is I gave my minimalist people the job of picking out 3 books and making some name cards for each. This is my 3rd book. So I have to
need to
make
get
some
that
name
book
cards.
So I'm so delighted that there are 2 people in this world that I have mentioned this book to who are reading this book. This book to me is sacred literature.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Everything about it, because I love, of course, he starts out, which you shared with us before I bought the book, with his idea that if you just read the italicized portions of each chapter, you can read the whole book in an hour. He says so. And he recommends if you only have an hour to spend with it, you do that. Well, unfortunately, I spent the whole hour on his detailed table of contents. I was so fascinated by it. I did not turn the pages as fast as I could, which were his instructions. And I noticed that he has a plain table of contents, like what you all normally see with just titles. But then he has a detailed table of contents, each one of which would be a perfect author's contribution to the main card. All you need to have a main card is to supply your reaction and the tagline, and there's a whole set of main cards for the book. So I'm just beyond excited about this. And of course, it as a description of architecture and as of a demonstration of the fact that good architecture applies to anything that needs to be architected, including a book.
Including a
Yeah.
So here's the demonstration. Yes, it works.
Yes.
Here. There's proof. You don't have to go out and buy a lot and get a building permit. It's right here.
I love it.
Go build it. What's it? Whatever.
And then there's something else that that just blew me away. There's a comment that's titled The Oregon Experiment. And when I open this book and read, he was at the University of Oregon, maybe still is, in Eugene, Oregon, which is where I live.
Your neighborhood.
There is some, I've got to find out what this Oregon experiment is. And is it something that someone can go visit? Because if it does, maybe we need some photographs for the archive.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
fabulous idea. So he has passed away.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
Oregon Experiment, there's a book, a dedicated book about it. I don't have it, but
Yeah,
it
I'm
exists.
going to have to get it because that could be, in small scale. I mean, he gives some photographs in here in black and white, but at small scale, at close up, it could be the perfect resident village of our people.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is awesome.
Yeah.
We're going to create a bestseller.
I know. Well, this whole thing just demonstrates that everything doesn't have to be plotted out.
Yeah.
It's almost the zone of fascination.
Yeah.
Julianne shared with us this zone,
Yeah.
and we each kind of took our own piece of it. And the more that we share, the more that grows. And then at some point, I would wager the order is going to start to reveal itself. And then we'll just know, okay, this needs to happen here. And then you just start putting it together. So it's the same process. It's just coming from a different direction.
Yeah, at some point in time, we'll have to set the file box up and put the plot points in and start slotting
Yeah.
things in to our
Yeah.
pieces. We'll have to start our 100-page pieces. We'll start having to go into the various slots in our folder
Yeah.
as we put the book together.
Yeah, and much like, with
Or-
categories in the Zettelkasten, right? The age-old
Yeah.
debate. You
Oh,
decide
yeah.
when it is, then you need those. And I feel like there's something very intuitive about the way this whole thing is unfolding, including me joining this
Yeah.
group, for crying out loud.
Yeah, it will emerge.
You need a dump section at first, because at first you can't categorize everything. You don't know where it's going to go. So
Yeah.
that's the power of having a dump region. When you're doing anything creative, you need a spot where you can just throw them in. You don't need to index them. But if there's something wonderful that you do want to index, oh my gosh, then you have to be able to give it a number and put it to the front and index it, because you don't want to lose it. So we have to talk about, well, can you give something a pencil number? And if that number is written in pencil, that means it's got a number in your dump box. And they're just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that way, if there's something that you really don't want to lose, then you can index it. And the only price is you got to go to those 5 key words and erase the pencil and write its real number when it finds a home.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
I don't know. I'm inventing Zettelcastens stuff as I go.
That's what you do.
That's what this podcast is about.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh, what fun.
Yeah. All right.
This is going to be a great experiment.
Mhm.
Yeah. I couldn't possibly have chosen people I wanted to work on this with more.
Thank you. Likewise. It never would have happened without you, Julianne.
All right. So you're our host for next week.
Yep.
So you've already we already kind of have the agenda for next week, right?
We do. Julianne, sometime this week, you're going to post a main card for us.
Yeah.
And we're going to find the parent where we would file it in our Zettelkastens, and we will each post a parent card to go with it. And then we will make an interesting inverted directory, which is going to have to be a new object, because I'm already starting to feel that, because sometimes there are child cards that just have lots of parents, and just randomly writing the links on the front of the child card isn't going to work. So we need a different kind of directory. I use pastels. Maybe the neon will be the the child. In my world, I don't know, we each have to find a different way, but you know, I have pastels and then there's neons. So the neon could be the directory of the child, the child's directory of all of its parents, multiple parents. I don't know. I got to think, noodle on that a bit.
Yeah.
But it's something I'm feeling the need of.
Beyond just this exercise.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I've been thinking about it for a long time. We do have the directories, the descendants, but sometimes you really want a directory of parents as well, because this is really becoming a Zettelkasten is truly a network. And that means you have to be able to go up and down the scale.
Yeah.
And around the scale is the parent card, is the directory of the parent card. So that exists as well. So you've got neighbors, so you've got your siblings and your children. We need also to be able to do your family tree going backwards or links into it. I don't know.
Yeah. It's like Mel's discursive meditation method.
Yeah.
Go down and then back up, and then
Oh.
down and then back up.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is actually a plot structure. So there is that.
Oh my goodness. And then there's my pea brain that goes down, wiggly, 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 wiggly. Back, 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 back. Down, wiggly, 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 wiggly. Sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need a nap.
Kathleen and her pea brain, right?
Right. If
Yeah.
she has a pea brain, what do the rest of us have?
Yeah.
She has a pea brain. We might as well just stop now. Just throw it in.
Hey, remember, I'm the one that wrote the story about Polly Sue. So
Like
Hey
it.
now. She's gonna figure important.
Okay. Well,
All right, I think we're
the
ending.
exercise that we didn't do, we can do another time, which is casting a wide net or finding a wide net. You know, what part of our Zettelkastens have lots and lots of tentacles?
Yeah.
mine was the card called Mind, and it went in so many different directions.
Ooh.
That'll be a fun one to play sometime.
Yeah, yeah,
Awesome. Yeah, we'll save that one. That'll be fun.
yeah. It'll be fun to continue coming back. I mean, I must say, if this story arc that I read to you were a card, this would be my card.
Well, maybe
Yeah.
you have to reduce it to a card.
That's a
Just
good
like
point.
you have to do with you want to write a 100-word story, you write a 250-word story, and
Mhm. Yep.
Okay, challenge accepted.
Awesome.
All right. Well, happy Monday, everyone.
thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for this great arc. What fun.
Yeah. Can't wait to see what happens.
See you in a
Uh-huh.
week.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See ya.